talking before we cut off, Kirk, the time of troubles is proclaimed very distinctly in Dany'el. And the time of troubles is, as I had anticipated, it's 3.5 years. So it begins very close to Pesach in 2030, which is 5997 Yada, or Yahowah.
Year of Yada.
And it ends on October 2nd with reconciliations followed by Sukkah in 2033, October 2nd and October 5th, followed by the 8 days of Sukkah through the 15th. So this is the time that all options run out for everyone in the world, but particularly for Yehudim. So you don't have much time. And the story that we're listening to, and we will be focusing on for the next number of months in our program, is Hoshea's revelation of the history of Yisra'el, and he's constantly referring to what happened in the Jezreel Valley. And there's no hiding the fact that everything associated with the Jezreel Valley is just flat out embarrassing. So the town itself of Jezreel was located in a valley that shares the name, and along the eastern flank of the lowlands was the west bank of the Jordan River. Yarden means to descend, beginning south of the watershed of Galilee. On the northeastern end of the valley is Mount Tabor, and to the south, Mount Gilboa. On the west, the valley extends all the way into Megiddo, where we found Mount Carmel. These are some lightning rod names in the history of Yisrael. There are some good things that happened here, but far more bad. The Torah speaks of this area beginning in Devarim, Deuteronomy 11, where Moshe instructs the children of Yisrael that upon crossing the Yarden, the Jordan River, that they should place the Torah's blessings on Mount Gerizim and the curses on Mount Ebal. And these two mountains are located in the southeasternmost part of the plain where the Jordan and Jezreel valleys intersect. Now, this is important because Hoshea's revelation is predicated upon the triumph and tragedy of Yisrael as the nation either embraced or rejected the Torah's instructions. So it is a very important place because this is the place where we had the affirmations of the blessings and the cursings. And wouldn't you know it, the most exciting archaeological find probably of the last 100 years, well, certainly since the Dead Sea Scrolls, has been found in this very place. Also just verifying the Torah's authenticity. That's where we find this lead tablet that speaks of the curses, found exactly where they were spoken, using Yahweh's name, using this original pictographic alphabet dating to this exact same period. It proves all the critics of the Torah wrong. Now, it is in Yisrael, or Yisra'el. It's spelled very similarly to Yisrael, but it's Yzrael, Jezreel, that we witness Deborah. Deborah is a go-getter, man. She is both a shafat, a judge, and she's a nabi, a prophet. This woman, here, I am woman, hear me roar, oratory, and she is exceedingly confident. I guess you would call Deborah an acquired taste. But she is trying to rally Yisrael in this very place, and it's against the attacking Canaanites on Mount Tabor. And she would summon Barak, asking him to gather an army from the Naphtali and Zebulun to rendezvous at Tabor to defeat Sisera. He was the commander of the Canaanites, and he was a bad boy. This you'd find in Judges, Shaphat 4 and 5. So the story then of Gideon also takes place in the Jezreel Valley. And it is at the foot of Mount Gilboa, that we are provided with a window into the character of a very adolescent Yisra'el. That's in Judges 6-8. King Shaul, the people's improper choice to govern them, consulted with the witch of Endor, which does not sound like a promising idea, in the Jezreel Valley. He was defeated on Mount Gilboa by the Philistines, where he committed suicide. That's not a sterling endorsement for the Jezreel Valley either. Now, the most revealing and perhaps the most character-defining story to take place within Yisra'el, Emek, the Jezreel Valley, is that of Achab. Ahab is how we transliterate it typically in English, but it's Achab, and Yzra'el, which is changed to Jezebel. This was the great debate. It's one of my favorite prophetic stories. It is where the hero of the story is the amazingly sarcastic Yah, and he single-handedly embarrasses the 850 prophets of Baal, the Lord, and as well as Asherah, the goddess of fortuitous relationships. It's a story that we've told before, and we may also share snippets of it because Yah will return, is going to play an enormously important role in our future. It is on Tabor that Israelite kings built altars to worship false gods. This is in Hosea 5:1. And if you care to believe Constantine's mommy, and you shouldn't, the misnomer named Jesus was allegedly born and later transfigured here in the Jezreel Valley. The Maccabees, the Romans, Muslims, Crusaders, Ottomans, and even Napoleon fought in the Jezreel Valley. Untended for centuries, it became barren, swampy, malaria infested. However, beginning with the revival of Zionism, Yosha Henkin, who lived around the turn of the century, around 1890, he and fellow Jews began purchasing as much of the valley, even at exorbitant prices, that Turkish Muslims would sell. And even with the Turks exiling Henkin and stealing the land that he had purchased, Jews were relentless in their pursuit of the valley, which they repurchased, drained, and then reforested, transforming Jezreel into one of the most fertile regions in the nation of Israel. In fact, it's the nation's breadbasket today. So Yisra'el Emek, the Jezreel Valley, is also called the way to the sea. Now, that's important because in Yasha'yah, Isaiah 9:1, at the introduction to one of God's most revealing prophecies, which links the past to the present and goes well into the future, it has the place where not only significant trade and military maneuvers took place in the past, it is the place of one of the last days wars. So Jezreel is where, according to Yirma'yah, the final battle of the time of Jacob's troubles will be fought. It will be fought in Megiddo, and as such, Yisra'el is about highs and lows. It's about beginnings and endings, and even a fresh start for those who turn back to where they began. So there's going to be numerous references in Hosea to the Jezreel Valley because Yahowah wants Israelites to look in the mirror, to have an appreciation of what they have done, and then the desire, the motivation, the conviction to change. So the story of the Jezreel Valley is Israel. And since it serves as the starting point for Hosea's prophecy, the ensuing divorce and the long intermission, I think it's appropriate that we review some of the major events which transpired in this place, beginning with Moshe and Devarim 11. His words lead us right to the gateway into this valley. and they coincide with the Israelites as they entered the Promised Land. So these are exceptionally important instructions. These are essentially the instructions that were given to Yisra'el as they were first granted access to the Promised Land. And we're going to listen to Moshe speak of what would occur commencing at the beginning of what is an exceedingly insightful speech.